Welcome to Muddy River News this week. I'm Bob Gough. My guest today is the police chief for the city of Quincy, Adam Yates. Welcome, sir.
It's good to be here, Bob. Thank you.
Congratulations on the new deal.
Thank you.
What's that mean to you?
Well, it doesn't mean much, honestly, in terms of the work that we're doing and we're going to continue to do. It is, I guess, just reinforces the fact that the city council, the mayor, they believe that the police department's headed in the right direction, which is, I guess, encouraging for us. Obviously this has to happen every 3 years, so it's good to kind of get to it, get past it, and continuing to do the work that we're supposed to be doing for the community.
When you, what is currently the biggest challenge your department is facing?
Currently, the biggest challenge, I think, unfortunately, is my relationship and my administration's relationship with the police union. That relationship is strained right now, and I've been working, my administration's been working very hard to try to put some things in place and make some folks happy, and we've not had a whole lot of luck doing that. So if I'm being perfectly honest, that's probably the thing that's taking up the most amount of time for me right now. Something that I hope we're able to get through, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Negotiations still underway for the new contract?
Negotiations are over.
They are?
Contract's
okay, I thought
over.
That was done. I thought that got done.
Yep,
So.
Contract's over. I was kind of hoping maybe there'd be, I guess, a little pressure relieved after that. At this point, doesn't really seem like that's the case, so we're going to continue to work. We're going to continue to go through the processes that need to be gone through, and that's internal stuff, and there's always a management-employee divide in any organization. This is a little wider than I prefer it would be. But it's also my responsibility to make sure that we're running an efficient operation at the police department, and that's what we're going to do. So
one of the things that has really comes up frequently, it seems on stories of arrests or what have you, are the use of the flock cameras. It seems like that has been a very good tool for you in terms. I know the woman who was charged with the fire at the Doyle property. In other cases, what has that meant, and how has that helped your department?
It's almost one of those technologies that you wonder how you ever did anything without, right? Just like the in-car computers and different things like that. It really has been a tremendous asset for the department. It's a technology that provides evidence for our investigations, and it just does a plethora of things for us. And like you mentioned the Doyle, but we also helped solve the Welcome Inn fire with that. We've made kidnapping arrests, we've hit and runs and all different kind of minor crimes that people never hear about. Right. We utilize those cameras. They really are. It's just a great technology that provides additional evidence that we need for our investigations, and we're very happy that we were able to get them. We've been using them ever since we've had them, and we've had tremendous luck. And in fact, within probably the next month or two, we're going to be seeking a re-up of our contract. Our contract, I believe, is up in October, so we're going to be bringing that back up.
Are you satisfied with the number of cameras you have in the community?
I think fiscally, we're going to maintain the number of cameras. I think we would always like to have more, but I think when we've looked at our budget, the way we budgeted for this particular fiscal year, we're going to say with the same number of cameras. What we probably will do is take a look at and move some of the cameras that we don't feel like we're getting as much bang for our buck. Mm-hmm. There's a cost associated with that, but it's a pretty minimal cost. Yeah. So we'll look at just making them more efficient for us rather than trying to add quantity.
One of the issues that came up that Commissioner Chain brought up was the staffing issue, that you guys are up to speed. Mm-hmm. You guys are fully staffed for the first time in years. What does that allow your department to do?
Well, number one, it alleviates the overtime for the officers. And, a lot of folks, it's just a fact that overtime costs less money than hiring people, right? But you can only work so much overtime before you get burnt out. We start to get officers that are getting hurt. It becomes just such a hindrance on family life when we're forcing officers to come to work. So that's probably the biggest thing that I like, is that we have our shifts staffed to where they're supposed to be, and we're not spending as much money on overtime or forcing officers in. Probably a close second or equal is our Special Investigations Unit, that we were able to then pull officers from the squads, put 4 officers together on the Special Investigations Unit, and let them go out and do proactive police work. They have done a fantastic job for the year plus that they've been deployed, and it's a very popular position within the police department, but it's a very effective position out within the community. So those two things, the alleviation of overtime and us being able to stand up that proactive unit, are really what being at full staff allows us to do.
We are, I'm not even sure how long we are into Illinois having to deal with the Safety Act. What have those ramifications meant for your department?
Well, I think that when you look at it in the big picture, you just have to operate within the law. And frankly, you just get used to it after a while. And the rules change, you just figure out how to do the same job with a different set of rules. Or you have to modify how you do things because the rules have changed. You know, I think you'll see frustration when people are just booked and released after committing significant crimes. We've seen a couple of higher profile cases recently where someone's arrested. I think the Doyle fire was a good example of that. But that's just, you know, policing is always going to change. The criminal justice system is always going to be modifying itself in ways. And I mean, I go back to a story when the Miranda decision came down years ago, decades ago. That was a big, you know, oh my God, in policing. Sure. I mean, we're never going to get anybody to confess anymore. Our jobs are over. And you know, you just learn to adapt to the things that are presented to you. I tell people we have to operate within the rules. Those are the rules that they gave us. We just figure out how to keep the community safe, working within the rules.
You know, when you look at the community in general, and when you're dealing with situations like we had, say, earlier this week, when you had a young man who had a gun and was in a bar. Number one, he shouldn't have been in a bar. Number two, he shouldn't have had the gun, whatever. And again, I know it's you guys can't be everywhere, but what can business owners do, and what can the citizens do on their part to sort of kind of self-police a little bit? I mean, it's not fiscally, it's probably not viable for every establishment in town to have two people there and somebody at the door, but I know a lot of them do, especially the late night people, because they probably think they have to. Sure. But on the earlier conditions, I mean, what else can be done on the front end? So we just again, I know this incident we just had this week is not a common thing, but what can we do to sort of stem that so it doesn't become a thing?
Well, I think really it's hard to say. There's a lot of angles you could go with this, but reporting incidents, suspicious behavior, as soon as it happens, is really, I think, the key, because it does a couple of things. One, there's going to be an issue. It gets us on the way sooner so that we can hopefully intervene before the issue becomes a problem, right? The other thing is if you have an establishment where folks know as soon as somebody starts to act out, the police are going to come, they're going to do something about it.
Right.
That kind of deters that activity. Right now, unfortunately, they're probably just going to go somewhere else where that's not the case. But for your particular venue, that allows you to provide a safer, environment for your customers. So, I would never ask nor encourage folks to try to take the law into their own hands and do those kind of things. Like you said, those nightclubs, you got to have bouncers and security to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But for your standard criminal activity like that happened over the weekend, just recognizing that when there's a disturbance, when there's a fight, when there's somebody that's intoxicated and shouldn't be there anymore, making that call right away, getting us over there before a problem becomes more serious and you end up with something like we had Saturday night.
Wrap it up here. Let's go harken back to Monday night a little bit, because the police, the fire commission dynamic with the city council and all that. That seems. They said some very kind. Everybody said some very kind words about you Monday night, deservedly so. But you look at that, and it just seems like there is a little bit of a difference now than it was, say, a year or so ago in you having your apartment. Does that permeate to your department? Do your officers and your staff feel like, okay, we're okay?
I guess I can't speak for the department. I would hope that there's a sense that you're being supported by city administration. I think probably that affects maybe me in that command level more than maybe the officers. I think it's kind of our responsibility as administrators and commanders to make the officers feel supported. But we need that from City Hall in order to permeate that down to the officers. So I can tell you just from a command staff perspective that no, I think we feel that things are heading in the right direction, that there are more lines of communication there's more. There's going to be some margin for error that maybe there wasn't before, and we're going to be able to talk through problems, discuss strategies, be able to move Quincy forward together, rather than feeling like everything that you're doing is being watched and is going to be scrutinized at some point, maybe even down the road after you think something has gone past. So no, I do think there is a sense of optimism as you're looking into the future.
And plus, having again the being fully staffed is just got to be that's just got to be like you talked about with guys and gals getting burnout or whatever. Having that full staff and saying, okay, I don't have to work every other weekend or whatever. That has to be the biggest thing.
It's huge for us. It really morale-wise, officers know there's always going to be overtime, so if they want to make extra money, they can, but they don't have to. We don't like forcing it down their throats, and that's what we were doing for a while back in 22, 23, and that's never very popular. So we would rather them work the overtime that they want to work and not be made to work.
Well, thank you for being here as always. I'm glad we can make it comfortable by having these plugged in, even though they don't work. See,
did you finally cut them off? Yeah, you did cut them off.
So yeah.
If you're not going to use those other ends, let me know. I'll take them with me.
All right, Chief Yates, thanks.
Thanks, Bob.
That's all the time we have for now. I'm Bob Gough. We'll see you next week.